share the information with each other. And Sherry told me that they changed something, so I'm excited to attend this year in September. But the Family Research Center does an amazing job, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has an amazing family tree setup. That's where I started before Ancestry. And so we want to welcome them out today to do this presentation. Remember, if you've got questions, Sherry and her team is here to help out. So help me welcome Sherry Grabill.
Well, good morning. Thank you for inviting me. I have also brought Jim Keith and Vicki Harris, who are volunteers also in the Family Search Center. We are very excited to be here. It's an honor to be here. And so it's going to be pretty much open. You have a question, raise your hand. I do not mind answering the questions because somebody else probably still has the same question as well. So I want to get a little feel for where you are in your family's history. So do you have a family tree started? Everybody has a family tree started? Yes? No? Okay. So, what tree or what program are you using to record your family history on? Is it Ancestry? Is it Family Search? Paper? Not using a program? Memory? Memory we're going to fix today. And I know for some of us who are older, we're like, okay, fix my memory, okay. Oh, okay.
Do you need some
Well,
okay.
only if they, it's the same thing. So this
More
is
than one or just?
however many you want, that's all I've got, but that's a pedigree chart. So who's using what program to store their ancestry? Okay. Anybody?
I started with this like the old days.
Yes.
That's how we got all started.
That's how we have all that memory problem. Okay. Family Search. Yes, tell
I
me.
use both.
Family Search? Okay. So those of you who have not started an account, Family Search is free. And we all like free. Family Search is free, and those of you who are using Ancestry, they want to thank you for your contribution. Because it can get expensive. But Family Search is free. Now, Family Search and Ancestry are the two main programs. One, they work well with each other, but they are a search facility, and they are also a recording facility, if you will. So the difference between Family Search and Ancestry is that in Family Search, it is not your tree. I know, you're like, what are you trying to tell me? Okay. In Family Search, it's called the World Tree, and you will connect to everyone in the world, and if I'm related to you, and you make a change in our tree, then I will be notified, or I'll see that my tree's now going out to the side instead of going up like it should. And I can come back to you and say, what give you the reason? But when we're doing family history, we're very particular and very possessive of the records and information that we put on there, because we have researched and we believe that our research is gold, and so that's why we're establishing all these records that we attach to our tree. So in Family Search, it's not your tree, although you're starting your tree. You're going to end up connecting to other people who have relatives that belong in your tree. So then it becomes a bigger tree. And then somebody else is going to connect. And then it becomes a bigger tree. So it becomes a world tree. So it's not protected from someone who is eager to go into the tree and add these names. You know, that Billy Bob Jones was really living in Tennessee when my William Jones was in Texas. And they're like, okay, well, William and Billy, you know, that's the same. Well, we make sure that we have records attached. So when you're using Family Search, which again is free, you hear me say that a lot, it's free. You're going to have those times where somebody's going to connect and change your tree. So that's why it's important that we're going to learn about resources today. So it's important that we attach sources to validate our person. So in Family Search, again, although it's free, people can come in and make changes to your tree. And I've been round and round with a couple of people who tried to make my tree go this way, and I'm like, no, we're going to the left. No, we're going to go to the right. So you can communicate with them. Just be kind about it. There are times when you can ask Family Search to step in to rectify something that is an ongoing issue when you have documents to prove and the other person does not. In Ancestry, which I started off with Ancestry, that's all that I knew, and grew my tree. But your tree is your tree, period. You can let people come in and contribute to your tree, add information to your tree, or just look at your tree, but they cannot change your tree. Okay? That is your tree. Now, if you gather information from someone else in Ancestry without looking on their documentation to prove, you could be injuring or damaging your tree. But that's in your control. In Family Search, which is what I have up here, you really don't have control because it is what we call the world tree. Yes, question?
I have 23andMe.
23andMe.
And then just recently, and then like every month or 3 months or so, I get informed that I have 7 more people in my bloodline, or I have 10 more people in my blood. It's just, you know, like
So
maybe
that's
3
a
months or
DNA
6.
program.
Yeah.
That's a DNA program.
Yes.
Yes. So that's different from a tree. It's going out and saying, based on people who have submitted their phalava to the DNA, they have found these other people who could be related to you. Okay? That's using DNA to connect. That's not recording your information in a program that makes or establishes a tree. You can use 23andMe, you can use Ancestry DNA, you can use, what's some other? Family Tree. There's a bunch of different DNA programs out there that vary in the size of their database. So Ancestry DNA is probably one of the world's largest, and it gathers all of that information and will tell you, hey, you know, you've got so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so who could be related to you on your father's side or on your mother's side. It's gathering that information. It's not building your tree. Okay? It's just another resource for you to gather information. And I used Ancestry DNA when I could not get past my mother's father's line. that's where it dead ended. I couldn't get past that anymore, and I'm like, okay, let's try the DNA. And now that is probably one of my most progressive ones, is that I was able to connect. But it just gives you that opportunity to find other people who would be related to you that will cross that bridge where you've got that disconnect. You know, so my second great grandfather, I couldn't get past that any further. I used DNA to get me over the bridge and then connect me to the rest of the family. Okay? Understand quite the difference between DNA and family tree and ancestry? So, yes, sir.
So what is the difference between our families lived in the mission and we are possibly the last generation or the generation? How do you, who controls those documents? And how do they, because we've lived there so long, so how do we connect? We already know how we connect, so who controls that part of it?
Well, so when you establish a tree, and this is a pedigree chart, much like what you have here. Me, my second husband, these are his stepchildren, and it goes out. Whatever tree you develop, whether it's in Family Search or in Ancestry, you have access. It's your account. Whatever information you put in there is your information. Other people can contribute, which you hope that they will, as long as they are contributing information with documentation.
The reason I asked is because one of our first family trees, was developed by an old cousin of ours, one of the Pachecos, and he started it, and he went back as far as 1779, and that's without all this other information. You know?
Okay.
So, and that's based on our family records.
Right. So when you create your tree, because we believe that everyone, mother, father, brother, sisters, children, should have their own trees, because we will connect. And the beauty of that connection is that you're gaining their research already, right or wrong, you're going to gain that information, but you can add to that. So, and James has done a lot of research, last night we're spending a lot of hours on understanding Indian research. What I'm going to encourage you to do is to create a tree. Whether you're creating it in Family Search or you're creating it in Ancestry, create it, because then you're able to bring in your brother, your uncle, or whoever it was, all of his research, and add to your tree. Because he would love to have the help, I'm sure.
Yeah, he passed on. I don't think.
Okay, well,
but I know one of my
he's still in heaven,
cousins.
and he's looking down and saying, you know what? Connect to me. Connect. Yes. Yes. So whether you're using Family Search, which is considered a world tree, which everyone can connect to, or whether you're using Ancestry, you can still make those connections and build your tree using other people's tree. We'll use Ancestry a lot of times for hints or suggestions, but we'll look to see what kind of resources they might have added to make sure that that person is validated. The more information that you can add, or a resource or a source that you can add to a person, validates who they are. So I'm just going to use my example here. That's me. And in Family Search, there's a profile page, which is this. And I have 5 sources in there. So it is critical that while you're adding sources to to your tree, it prevents someone else, because there is another Sherry Grabill out in the world. We're sorry, but there is. There's not another Sherry Yancha, which that's my maiden name. But you can see how easy it could be to mix two different people. You've got Martinez's, you've got Perez, you've got Pacheco, you've got Adams, you've got Woods. All of these are common names, and it could be very easily misconstrued that that person is your person. And so that's how things get, your tree gets going in the wrong direction. So these are sources that I have added to my tree that have validate who I am and also family members. So any questions about adding sources? No?
I don't want to get up to it, but
Go
what I
ahead.
do like about
Go ahead.
Family Search is,
Yes.
is that, I was doing it a few years ago, way
Mhm.
back.
Because it was free, right?
That too.
Yes.
But what I did when I was doing my search and adding the Spanish to Family Search,
Yes.
I found that when you press, there's certain documents you can press, like
Yes,
documents.
those are hints.
And it comes and it gives you it gives you like a story of that family or what that person did, as long as you put it on there. So
Okay.
it develops a little page for that person. That's what I like about it.
Okay, so let me see if I can,
Are you talking about a timeline or?
Yeah, almost like a timeline.
Right, because a lot of times,
James,
some of the programs, a lot of the programs will, based on the information you enter, will create a timeline. They were born this date. Their parent had a child this date, another child this date. Then this person got married this date. Somebody died on this date.
Yes.
So you can look through that profile very easily.
Yes.
And look at the history of that family or your family.
Very interesting. Yeah, it's really good.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't use the timeline nearly as much as I should. I've just discovered that recently. The timelines, our profiles, are invaluable at looking at a family or at a person and say, ooh, I've got some gaps in here that I don't know about. Let me go and dig into that and see if I can find it. Sometimes the timeline may give you the marriage, you don't have any information about it or a source. Let's go look. So it kind of guides you.
Yes, yes.
And that's great. So I think that if that's what you're talking about.
Yes, it is, because I've I've put in, say I remember a story we told, and I would put it in, and it would come out. And now, so if I forget the story, I just go back to it,
Right.
and then I can refer
Are
to
you
it.
putting it in the media or whatever?
No, it's like Sherry said, it's on my own on that one, but I stopped on that one. When all our cousins started doing theirs, I kind of stopped.
Okay.
But other than that, no, I haven't gone that far into getting it all up.
so we're gonna touch on a few of those
Okay, good.
opportunities, we call them memories, because in memories, you can y'all still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. In memories, you can add pictures, and I know you have pictures. You have pictures when you were a baby. You have pictures of when your children were babies, your grandchildren, your great-grandparents. You have all of these that if you don't record them somewhere, they're going to be gone. They're going to be gone. And by storing them, at least on Family Search, they will live forever. So when it comes time for me to pass on, if I haven't saved all of the pictures that I have in my household and uploaded them, do you think my children are going to want them? maybe, maybe not. They may not even know who they are. You know? But they were important to you. So it's critical that we upload those pictures. It doesn't take up space on your computer. Because once they get uploaded here, they're in the cloud and they're saved forever. Okay? Along with memory. So what he was talking about here is these are records, these are hints. So that there's a hint there for a relative of mine. And the hint, it may be one hint, it may be several hints, but these are, the system has gone out and said, I have a record that has a name, Frank Koliba, or matches with Frank, or matches with Koliba, or matches with his date, or matches with his location, that you might want to look at. And I can then go over here to this is the hint, and it's under George, which is in the old German or Czech, Yuri was his name, and then we Americanized it to George. So it's about George, but because George is a parent to Frank, that's how they got connected. So you want to go in and you want to look at those resources. But when I'm talking about, let's go back. Okay, we'll wait. This is one memory on Frank. This is a picture that someone has contributed. Oh no, that's his picture. In mine, I have all of these pictures. Most recent, Christmas. I know that probably during the holiday season you had family gatherings. What a great time to capture these pictures of family members that maybe you don't see all the time. Sometimes you may see them every other year, maybe every 3 years, sometimes every 5 years. Some of them you may have never seen before. Okay? Your son brings home a girl for Christmas. Or your daughter brings home somebody else. So you want to be able to record these memories, which will stay available forever. So when I die, these will become public and people can see them. Okay? So not only can I record pictures, but I can record stories. So I know that you have lots of stories that have been handed down. I know that you have lots of stories that have been handed down. Some of them may be myths. Some of them, well, you know, my grandfather told me that this. So, as an example, and I'm going to turn the time over to Vicki in just a few minutes so she can show you how to do these pictures. But I had asked my grandfather, I said, tell me about your grandfather. He said, well, we didn't know too much about him. He was a traveling salesman. Okay, so for years, I looked through phone books and directories and resources looking for Crowder, which was his family name, for a traveling salesman. Crowder. Well, in another story that gets me there, but I discovered that he was really a cattle rustler. So cattle rustler and a traveling salesman. Okay, that's pretty close. I mean, he traveled and he sold what he got. So that could be a traveling salesman. Okay, I got it. So there's also the story about a relative of Harry Reid, used to be a senator from Utah, and it talked about how one of his ancestors had a long history of notoriety. And so he came out, the story goes, he came out on a stage and said a few words, and people were just gathered around to hear. Actually, what happened is that he was going to be hung, so they bring him out on the stage, a noose around his neck, and everybody was there, and they were wanting to see him get his justice. And so there's the crowd. Here he is on stage, and they hang him, and the crowd is cheering. But when you think about the other story, how it's been color-filled, if you will, gives you a different light on it. So, nonetheless, you want to record what you hear. Those stories that were passed down from your grandparents, great-grandparents, things that they did. Because you're not sure if they happened that way, but it could lead to other avenues for you to research and discover. Okay? So I know that some of you may have said, well, you know, I came from a Cherokee line, or I came from another line, or whatever. There are ways for you to find that out, but just by hearsay and you going on that without sources is only mythology, not genealogy. Okay? So it's okay to record some of those because they are colorful, because we've all got colorful characters in our families. Some we can be proud of, and others like, dookie. Couldn't change that one. But you still want to be able to record that information. Okay? Questions? Yes.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment because my mother is here.
Okay.
I've got
Is this
to,
Mom?
yes, the one in the
Mom?
red.
She drug you out this way, didn't she?
A couple of years ago, I started recording her stories of her childhood. You know, things that she remembered growing up when her parents were still alive. And those are really important because I thought, you know, someday when she's not here, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren are going to want to know stories about her growing up. And
Yes.
this is a great way to do it.
Yes. So, let me, where is it? I know you all have cell phones. Because we don't live now without cell phones.
Now, Sherry, real quick, I have somebody on Facebook here making a comment that says you can load them, but others cannot view them, only you. Law of privacy?
Right. So because I'm still alive and these are my pictures, they are not visible publicly until I become deceased.
Okay.
Okay? So on your cell phone, I know you all have cell phones, you can download, and mine's somewhere around here, you can download the Family Search app, you can download Ancestry, you can download Memories. This Memories app, just as you are recording stories about Mom, record her voice. Record her voice. So her great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren will know what she sounded like.
Great idea.
That's
Thank you.
amazing.
Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how many times I would love to have voices from my parents, my grandparents.
You know, I can address something like that. I started my genealogy back in the 70s, 1970s. And my grandmother is the one that helped me. And she knew everybody in the family. She knew their stories, good and bad. And she told me the good and the bad. said, let me record you and get some of those facts about the family. So I took my real, I don't know what it
Little
was.
8-track.
Yeah. And I recorded her, a conversation with her. I had that today. I had it transferred to a cassette tape. I need to get it better shape. But I can go back at any time and listen to her voice and listen to her stories. I sat down with my mom, I don't know, she was in her 80s, close to 90, when I was home visiting. And I said, Mom, I need to know what about your life. And so I took a little micro cassette or whatever it was and recorded. And we sat there for about an hour, and she went through her life story with me, and I got that on tape. Those are about, you're right, those are invaluable.
Those are nice. Vicky sat down with her mom and told her that she was going to record her, and so immediately she just clammed up.
Oh.
Yeah. But so then she waited a little while, and then she came back and she said, Mom, tell me how you and Dad met. And then she started recording. And at first she was a little shy. She could probably tell you this better than I can. But then all of a sudden it was like, okay, Mom, we have to stop. Okay, Mom, we're good. You know. So to relive those and to record those memories. So I encourage you on your cell phone, and all of those apps are free because we like
Free.
free. Exactly. We like free. I don't need to use my Social Security to pay for memberships and things like that when I can get it for free. So the Memories app will allow you then to put that information in your tree. So on my husband's tree, in my husband's tree, I was able to record two snippets of his voice. And so when you're adding it, the little headphone says that that's a voice recording. And so I asked him, I said, what is your greatest, hopefully this will get hooked up.
You have two family trees.
Say it again. Say it again. Okay.
Two trees, because her husband was living at the time, it's her tree and she has to add him.
So if you've been married more than once, okay, congratulations. You went through one, you went through another one, okay, good. So this was my second husband, and that was his first wife. I can change, and this follows their tree, but I can
Switch the spouse.
I can switch it, and so now it adds me, and it follows my tree along with his. So it's one tree in Family Church. Remember, it's really not your tree; it's the world tree. But I have added all of that. Now in Ancestry, you can do the same thing. You can have the multiples, that kind of thing. But I asked him what his greatest accomplishments were. And he was saying that he was so proud of his children that they are adults contributing to society. I have his voice. He died 5 months ago. So that was very critical for me to have that information, and when we gathered as a family and we were laughing and crying and that sort of thing, for his kids to hear that about them, what a tremendous memory.
What a gift.
A
What a
gift,
gift.
yes, that they will have forever. So when you say adding memories and you're talking with someone and record it in your, do you have it on your? So before you leave today, you're going to download that memories app so that you can go in and record. You're having a birthday party, you're having Christmas, you're having a get-together. You can walk around and just start recording. It's priceless. Not MasterCard, but it is priceless. Yes.
I have a question. When you said, you've been married twice,
Mhm.
so why is it important to put your previous marriage in there?
Because I had children.
Okay, if you didn't have children, then you don't have to.
It's a fact. I was married to him.
Normally, you want to put every relationship.
Yeah.
So if
Good or bad. We're not here to judge.
You know, I have a great grandfather married 3 times, but I've got 3 trees because he had children by 2 wives, and I want to make sure they're under the right relationship, the right wife.
Well, I was married twice. My first husband, I had no children with him, but
Right.
he had a child. He had a little boy.
Right,
Okay.
So then I know nothing. I
right.
know nothing about this.
And all you have to do is just put it in there.
Just put it
Just
in
to
there,
capture the data,
exactly.
because somebody else is gonna need that information.
Yeah. So so I'm my husband's 3rd wife. So I have,
You stinker, you.
but I'm the one, that's here
Say yes,
still.
say yes.
24 years this year.
All
I'm
right.
still here.
Okay.
But I built out his 2 ex-wives' trees too, for his children,
Right.
for
Exactly.
their sake. I did it for them.
So
Right?
I'm
They
gonna
have
show
nothing
you
to do with
something.
me, but it's for them.
So one of the things that is interesting in both trees is that you can find the relationship. So my last husband, Gordon, he and I are related. When I told, would you stop that?
I'm recording history.
Yes.
There you go.
So when I found it out, I was like, my kids were like, Mom. His kids were like, cool. You know? His first wife and I are related. Hello, Merry Christmas. Yeah, but when you go into, so another part of family search, when you're around a group, and I would venture to say that a lot of you are probably related to each other in here and you just don't know it. In family search, you can find relatives around me, and on the app, and discover that you're related and how you're related, and it takes you back on the lineage. So it's so interesting, and there's just so much to learn. And if you haven't gotten started on it, I hope that you will. But I will not give you my phone number that you're going to call me and say, I'm addicted. How do I stop? Because I will never answer that question. I can't be held accountable for that. Yes.
I was doing a quick search on me and my family, and I noticed there's some historical records in there.
Uh-huh.
Are those pulled from like census data and stuff like that?
Yeah, so they can be pulled from, well, birth records, death records, marriage records, censuses, church records, school records, family Bibles. Take a picture of the family Bible, put it in there. That is considered a source, because what happened? when somebody gave birth, what did Grandma do? She went to the family Bible, which, by the way, is one of the original genealogy books. Because if you don't believe that, then read the first couple of pages of Genesis, who begat. I used to think that was a family. I'm like, who's the begat family? No. So anyway, but Grandma went to the Bible and she wrote down, Sherry Gale had a baby on this day. You know, they were meticulous about that. Okay? So if you find a family Bible, go in there. They may not want to give it up. Go in there and take the pictures. Using your Memories app. Using your camera, because you can upload into all of this. Either way, Ancestry or Family Search. Questions? Because I'm going to turn the time over to Vicki, who's going to show you about how to add some memories, what you can do with them. Because I know when you leave here, you're going to go out, you're going to take a picture of yourself, you're going to put it in there. Yes, ma'am.
Someone online has brought up some very good points. One is that this is a great way to connect with cousins.
Oh, yes?
And the other is the Roots Tech.
Oh, Roots Tech, yes. So that Roots Tech just happened. It is the mothership of all family history research and gathering. It's free. In Roots Tech, you can find living members who are attending and connect. Great, because otherwise this way you're finding mostly dead people. And that's okay too. They never give you a hard time. That's the good part about that. But you can find living relatives through the connections that you have in Family Search. So if somebody added a picture or a story or a document, I can click on that person's name who added it and find out if they're related to me. And, you know,
and how?
Question, where did you find this? Because you're just saying JEDCOM. JEDCOM is a common answer that people say, oh, it's because it's from a JEDCOM. A JEDCOM is just the written format of a tree without documentation.
Yeah.
So if you're looking in your tree, whatever tree you're using, and they say, why is this information accurate? It's from a JEDCOM. Take a calm pill, erase it, and try to find the resource for it, or contact them and say, okay, what validates this person? The more information, the more resources that you have to validate a person, a people, keeps your tree as pure as it can be. Because if my family all lived in Texas, and then there's another name out there that's in Kentucky, I can guarantee you they're not the same person. So it's critical that we understand adding sources, adding memories, adding documentation to keep your tree as pure as you can keep it without it being going out to the right field or to the left field when it should have been going out. Sure, of course.
You're talking about the sources. Vicki and I have a very strong feeling on your sources. So many people in their trees will cite a source, and they'll cite a tree someone has put out there as a source. The one thing Vicki and I have always agreed upon, all of us, a tree is not a source. So never use a tree that you find online. Sometimes in Ancestry or whatever, I'll look at someone's list of sources, and it'll all be ancestry tree, a GeneoDep tree or whatever. That is not a source. Because a source has to be some kind of a document, or some documentation.
Yeah.
What's that?
A birth certificate.
Birth certificate, death certificate.
Church record.
Church record, exactly. So never use a tree you find online or in a book as a source unless you have a document or something that would work.
How would you consider newspaper obituaries, things like that?
I use those, but you just have to, with newspaper obituaries, even with death certificates, you have to kind of have a treat them with a grain of salt, because they're only as good as the person providing
Giving the information.
And
Yeah.
so I always go out and try to verify. And I've read obituaries where the information is a little off because the person didn't get it correctly. But those are the sources that I look for. But a tree itself is not.
What do you recommend when there's somebody starting their genealogy? Because I've been doing it since 2000. But when I first started, an uncle of mine was helping me out.
Right.
Because he had already dated kids. And he told me that to go like this and put my dad, my mom, and the siblings. Then I went out looking for my dad's stuff. Then my mom, and it took me about 3 or 4 months with my mom, and my uncle came and showed me a book. You don't have to do that. I got the book already.
But I always take that book that they gave you, and I'm going to research it to make sure that information is right. But look at the sources that they're using, and kind of sort through that. If they cite death certificates, birth certificates, family Bibles. I mean, I started genealogy when my dad got a family Bible. Thing was that big. It was in the 1800s. But in the middle was all these births, marriages, and deaths. And that's how I took a chart, a piece of, a big piece of paper, folder.
Then I did.
And then I scratched it out. I mean, drew it out. That's how I started.
Yeah, because then I did my dad, my grandfather, my grandmother, and my dad's siblings. But then my dad's mom, my grandmother, was Italian. So I branched out a little bit, and it took me from doing my search on my last name. And my uncle said, no, stay on the person you want to go up to the top, to one person, then go back and do the other one.
Yeah, too many people kind of, they do like buckshot or what, they go in all directions. Pick, what is your goal? I want to find out my dad's line. Like I started with my father. I said my mom, somebody else is doing that. So I went only with my dad, and I went with the direct line. I didn't go sideways. I went directly with him, his father, his grandfather, great-grandfather, and I got the kids, but I didn't go research each of the kids and all that. So you got to keep organized.
What I did, and I went all the way up to my great-great-great-grandfather, and he was here in Minnesota, and I found a document where he was at church now, San Fernando, and he was a godparent at a wedding in 1772.
Wow.
And I went up that far, but then I found written documents that the master builder arrived here in the San Antonio River Missions in 1768, and he was a master builder.
Wow. I hope you're recording that. I hope you're recording that.
I got it all on laptop. I had a person come and scan everything and put it on a CD.
Okay.
Are you ready to take a 5-minute break? I know this is getting really juicy, and I love your stories all the time. In fact, one of these days we're going to have to spend some extended time because you've got some amazing stories. But we're going to take a 5-minute break just so everybody can get up and stretch and move around. maybe, to check with some of the people that you haven't seen for a while. But before we go on break, I wanted to read something that somebody put on our page, because we are doing this Facebook Live right now. And so it said, when I did my tree and found relatives, I messaged them, then I made a potluck gathering at a park to meet and share information on families, which is an awesome idea. She said it was very successful and we still meet every 3 to 4 months. Cousins meet and found out 2 cousins were married together because they didn't know that they were related. She said this gathering lets us all meet and share info and meet new family members and share trees. Every family takes their own tree with them to the meeting. This is another reason why genealogy is so important, and it's so important to find your extended family members, because if you don't know who your relatives are, there is always a danger that you may end up marrying a relative. But anyway, we're going to take
A
about...
close relative.
Yes, that's a different story. Close relatives is always a little bit scary. So we're going to take about a 5-minute break, and you guys get your coffee. Bathrooms are out this door and straight across.
Pastries, there's water.
Yes. Okay.